But we'll dive into Oregon Penn State. It is Big Ten Championship Week, the one of 10 possible outcomes coming out of the weekend for Penn State happened. It happened. Michigan does the inevitable and makes Ryan Day lose yet again.
Yeah.
That much lauded and ballyhooed Ohio State recruiting class from 4 years ago goes 0-4.
Wah, wah, wah.
Against the Wolverines. Penn State takes care of business, and it all lines up for Oregon Penn State in Indianapolis for the Big Ten Championship game.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun game. This is going to be a good one, man. The line sitting at 3.5. I know a lot of people are maybe a little bit shocked by that. Dude, Penn State, because of Drew Aller, I think the taste of Drew Aller and the fact that in games against top 20 defenses the last 2 years, he's only completed 56% of his passes. He's averaging 150 yards through the air per game. Doesn't throw a lot of touchdowns. That's just who Penn State is. And like what they do is they just try to sit on you for the entire game, right? It's like watching an MMA fight where it just goes to the ground and they're just rolling around for a while and just waiting for you to slip up. That's kind of how they play, right? Mm-hmm. Oregon will kind of dance around for a while and they'll hit you with a couple knockout shots every now and then. But they kind of play a similar game of they're gonna suffocate you over the course of 60 minutes. And that's why like Oregon isn't blowing teams out with explosive plays and lopsided scores that we came accustomed to seeing with Chip Kelly, right? Back when they were playing for a national title. It's a little bit different in the way that the games look. And even with that style of play from Penn State, they just beat Maryland 44-7. Mm-hmm. Right? Maryland came into Autzen Stadium a few weeks ago, and they played Oregon tighter than 44-7. Right? That game was never in doubt, and Oregon wasn't at full strength by any stretch. But this Penn State team has crushed their opponents too. I mean, they beat a Purdue team on the road 49-10 that Oregon beat 35-0. Right? They beat them by 39. Oregon beat them by 35. Purdue found a way to score, which is crazy that they scored touchdowns this year based on having seen them in person. Right? This Purdue defense is for real. And everybody talks about the front seven, and rightfully so, because Abdul Carter is an absolute menace. But Kobe King in the linebacking core, their secondary, their corners, they might be better than what Ohio State threw at Oregon on at corner. Because A.J. Harris and Jalen Kimber, two guys that at one time were at Georgia, and they transferred in. I think Kimber went from Georgia to Florida and then up to Penn State. But A.J. Harris is a Georgia transfer, right? It's not like these guys are schlubs off the street. They're really damn good on the outside. And they can play one-on-one. They can man you up, and they can try to bring the fist fight to you. Every level of their defense is really good at Penn State. That is how they're winning. It's kind of similar to Oregon, too, where it's like everybody thinks of Oregon as offense. Oregon's defense has been leading the charge, and they've been really stinking good all season long. That's where Penn State is built. They're going to try to take the run game away from Oregon. They are going to probably be effective at slowing Oregon's run game down, but I think where this game comes down to is that separation at quarterback. And Drew Aller is the one that everybody's going, he can't win you a game. And that has been his shortcomings, and that has been the shortfall for this Penn State team. But with Tyler Warren, who's not a Swiss Army knife, he's a Leatherman because he is more bulky. He can do more gritty things. He's a weapon, man. 6'3", 250, can just run you over. That dude is a menace on the outside, on the inside. They put him at tight end. They'll put him in the slot. They'll put him in the backfield. He's throwing passes. And their run game is nasty, too, now that Nick Singleton, they got a lot of thunder and lightning with Katron Allen and Nick Singleton in the backfield. Dude, Nick Singleton is catching form later in the year. He's their speedy, quicker back, and he's been really effective lately. He was dinged up a little bit earlier in the season. This is an offense that can pose some problems if they can sustain drives and stay on the field.
There's a lot here.
Yeah.
With Penn State, I think James Franklin is a hell of a coach. I genuinely do.
He is.
I do not believe in Drew Aller, and I do not believe in that offense. I've watched Penn State play a couple of games, one of them obviously against USC, and they very much strike me as paper tiger. Their defense is real. That offense I do not buy at all. Like, don't get me wrong. Warren is a hell of a weapon. He's very unique. 6'6", 260-pound, like you said, Leatherman. He does everything. He can run out of the backfield. He can receive. He's everywhere. But I mean, this is a team that should have lost to USC had a single flag been thrown. This is a team that barely escaped against Minnesota just 2 weeks ago. Yes, they beat the brakes off Maryland, but you look at their throughout the season, their inability to score or be consistent or be on time. This is not a new thing with Drew Aller. You go back last year, their losses they had were to Michigan and Ohio State.
Yeah.
Against Michigan, he was 10 of 22 for 70 yards. Against Ohio State, he was 18 for 42 for a $191. Like, you look at any time that they have played anybody. He plays Illinois and they win 21-7 this year. He's 15 of 21 for a $135, no touchdowns. The one thing that he does is he takes care of the ball.
He takes care of the ball at an amazing rate.
Insane level.
He's running the ball a little bit more this year than he has in the past. And here's the thing with Drew Aller and Penn State. They have a quarterback that obviously has proven big games against very good defense. He is not the guy who's going to hop on my back, let's go win a game.
He's not even going to make plays for you.
But this team ranks 14th nationally in third down conversions. Because here is where the game's going to be won and lost for Oregon. It will be, can you put Penn State in third and long? Can you put Penn State in a position where Drew Aller has to throw the football? Because what they do, and the reason why they convert dang near 50% of their third downs, is because they are first down chunk, second down, you get a little bit more and you're in third and manageable. And in that situation, they are not a team that is going to convert a lot of long third downs. That's just not how they're built. That's not the way they want to play. Against Penn State, or against Ohio State this year, they were 3 for 11 on third down, and they only scored 13 points, right? Every other game this year, they're converting at a 49% clip on third down. Like that's where this game will come down to, is can you put him in a position where Drew Aller has to throw the ball and he has to win the game. The one thing that also is going to play a major factor in this, Tyler Warren is their leading receiver by almost 50 catches this year. He's got 81 receptions.
He's got 101 targets. He's second in college football, I believe. I think
their second leading receiver, Harrison Wallace. By the way, Aronde Gadsden, his dad, Aronde Gadsden Sr., played for the Portland Forest Dragons. Little arena football there, and then went on to play for the Miami Dolphins. But anyways, Penn State's second leading receiver is Harrison Wallace. He has been dinged up, did not play last week. He has 35 catches on the year.
And that's
81 to 35. And you know who the third leading receiver, how many catches he has?
16.
18. Omari Evans has 18 catches on the year.
To a game.
There is a dramatic fall off. And so if Harrison Wallace is still out, that is a big injury for Penn State.
You have to have more weapons than that against this Oregon defense. Like that's the thing is like, and again, Penn State, they are very good in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Like that, there's no doubt about that. They continue to be very good there. That historically, no matter who the coach is, no matter where the program is at, they do very well in the trenches. And they've got pass rushers, they've got interior run stoppers, like you talked about, being able to stop Oregon's run game. But I thought this was an interesting note. I can't remember who had it, but this doesn't necessarily mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but I think the math behind it is really interesting. Did you know that the Ducks are 1-5 against the spread when they don't convert at least 50% of their third down conversions?
I would not be surprised. No,
it's an interesting thing when you talk about the spread being only 3.5. You know what I mean? Because if they're saying that they don't cover that difference, which is they're basically saying this is, you know, at home Oregon would be a little under a touchdown favorite, but neutral site they're saying 3.5 points. But if they're saying that here, if Penn State can do what you want to talk about Oregon doing to Penn State, which is limit them on third downs, they're basically saying it's a coin toss. That's what the math says here. And I think that's an interesting way to look at this because I do think Penn State's defense is good. When I say paper tiger, I'm talking entirely about their offense. I don't think that Penn State's offense is anywhere close. I mean, look, you want to talk about mutual opponents, right? Ohio State, 20-13 game. It was ugly as sin. And meanwhile, was Oregon, Ohio State was 32-31? Or was it 32-33?
32-31.
32-31.
Yeah.
I mean, look, not every game is going to be the same. Everything's going to play out. But you go watch that Ohio State-Penn State game, there wasn't a big chunk play to save anyone's life. Ohio State-Oregon, there were chunk plays. There were big play opportunities, and that's because both teams had or have game breakers. Tyler Warren is a game breaker in a different sense. He's not going to chunk you with the big plays over and over and over again. He'll make the monumental play on third down or in the red zone, which is incredibly important. But I don't think that it's going to come down to that because they're not going to have the ability to keep pace with Oregon and the weapons that they have, both running and playing on the edges. And I think that's the difference between these two teams. You can say that Oregon's defense and Penn State's defense, even if Oregon's is a little bit better, that they're comparable. I think the offenses are drastically different.
And I think one thing that Oregon has going for it right now is health at the right time, right? Tez Johnson coming back against Washington, and albeit, and I said this on Monday when you were gone, but the first half, they were using Tez as a decoy, but they got him loose a little bit in that second half. He had 3 catches on the night, and he appears to be feeling okay. You know, you're trending in the right direction. Jordan Birch is back. You know, Jamari Caldwell did not miss a game after, falling hard on that shoulder against Wisconsin. They appear to be as healthy as can be heading into the Big Ten championship game, and I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact they took care of their schedule and really didn't have to grind very many games out until you got to Wisconsin in November. I mean, they had afforded the ability to kind of pull their foot off the gas and play the long game instead of, blasting teams into oblivion, because as long as you win, you don't need the style points, right? And they afforded that luxury of not having to get style points because they kept on churning out win after win after win. And now here we are in the Big Ten championship game where Penn State has had some nicks, dings up front in the interior of their defensive line. Right tackle has been an issue for Penn State over the last couple of weeks, which I don't know if you want to play against an Oregon team with one of your edges being of concern. And Oregon is on the flip side of that, getting healthy in all the right spots. And obviously, as I mentioned, Harrison Wallace also, your second leading receiver, being out. That could be a big one. We're going to have to monitor that and see kind of where Harrison Wallace is heading into this game on Saturday.